It seems reasonable to think that to hold on to the resources that we currently have will allow them to grow for us, and that to give them away means that we won't have anything in time. But therein lies the paradox of generosity, because in giving we receive, but in grasping we lose. Generosity is that repeated behavior. It's not a single act. It requires recurrent intention and attention, and it shapes our lives over time. Of course, generosity is the habit of giving without expecting anything in return. If we buy into the mindset that we are not of a noble birth, that we're just ordinary people, it becomes easy to rationalize away the expectation of being generous. Because noble people are generous. Ordinary people don't need to be. Of course, rationalizing away the expectation to be generous undermines the power of the gospel life, the life of the baptized, and it undermines the authority that Jesus shares with us as his brothers and sisters, sons and daughters of a loving Father. So this is the second of a three-part series on generosity, and I'd like to touch today on something that comes up in the gospel, the story of Simon's mother-in-law, who lays sick with a fever. Of course, they tell Jesus about her when he comes into the house, and he approaches, grasps her hand, and helps her up. And the gospel tells us, then the fever left her, and she waited on them. Of course, Jesus indeed sets the example of generosity by healing Simon's mother-in-law. But I think what's important is then what she does. She acts with generosity. She waits on them, serving them, giving of herself. You see, generosity has the power to improve your health. It also has the power to increase happiness, well-being, and the power to have a life purpose. There's a remarkable study done some time ago by a psychologist at the University of Maryland, and the result of the study, he writes that the very act of doing good increases one's natural human powers and capacities to make things happen in the world, to effect changes one wishes to see happen. The very act of doing good, the very act of being generous, one's natural human powers. Natural human power is just simply physical strength. To prove this, they did a study. They took a random sample of good doers and proved that they are physically stronger and more tenacious than those who did just neutral, not bad, but not really all that good kind of tasks. And here's how it happened. They went to a subway station. I suppose it was in Washington, D.C., because they were at the University of Maryland. And they took a random group of people, and they were asked to hold a 5-pound weight out horizontally from the side of their bodies as long as they possibly could. And after they were no longer able to hold the weight, each of them were given $1. Half of those who were given the $1 were then asked to give to a local charity that was collecting nearby at the time. Once that was done, they asked everyone to hold the weight again. Here's the interesting result. Those who donated the $1 were able to hold the weight a second time for a significantly longer period of time than those who kept the money. You see, you might think that generous people come up on the short end of an unequal bargain. But the truth is that practices of generosity are actually likely to provide generous givers with the kind of essential goods in life that money and time just can't buy. Happiness, health, purpose. Now, admittedly, generosity is not going to make your life perfect. It's just not. You know, the most generous people are not perfect, and they suffer bouts of sadness and have health problems and struggle with finding what life is all about. But generous people are better, and they have a better sense of happiness in their life. You know, happiness is that end in life, you know, that end, that thing that we all seek, and it's like once we have it, it's a good in and of itself. And studies show that people who are generous tend to be more happy and find happiness much easier in their lives. And it's the best way to attain a sense of happiness in life. People who practice generosity, and not just giving money, but doing things like forgiving others and making peace with the hardships of life, are much better able to overcome negative kinds of emotions. You know, when we give more attention to what we lack than what we have, what joy is there in that? And those who focus on what they have over what they lack are able to better minimize the damage of troubling experiences. And consequently, well, they find more happiness in life. People who are generous have better health. Again, kind of another end in and of itself. It's a good that we all seek. We want to be healthy. All of us want to be healthy. We want to have a better sense of well-being. And generosity has been proven to improve health. Of course, it certainly will improve a purpose in life, because life purpose provides clarity and direction. It supplies a sense of meaning for existence and value to one's contributions in the world. Even as simple a thing as, what do you want to be when you grow up? Remember your teachers asking you that, or maybe your mom and dad asked you that when you were a kid. I remember what I responded when I was a kid. The first time I remember being asked that, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I want to be a fireman. I'm not a fireman today, although maybe I am. As a priest, spend a lot of time putting out fires. Yeah, to live without purpose in life is to be lost, drifting uncertain, confused about the very significance of life. Where are you with your purpose in life? Are you doing what you set out to do? Certainly, we don't know the end of the story, the end of Simon's mother-in-law's story. I think, though, we can safely say that after that experience with Jesus, she grew in her generosity. Her life changed for the better. If you're generous, so will yours, because generous people look at what they have, and while they still care for their own personal needs and those that they're called to care for, they willingly give away a percentage of their financial resources, a percentage of their time. They share their emotional life with others, and they act with neighborly ways with the people around them. Generous people indeed are happier and healthier. They suffer less incidences of depression and addiction. Generous people, though, recognize that their generosity must be authentic. It has to be believed. It has to be practiced as a real part of one's daily life. And it's only then that the well-being enhancing powers of it will kick in. Jesus was generous with his life, with his whole life. He gave his life generously for us. Our baptism demands that we do the same. And God bless you.